We started with a grocer. That was, we thought, crucial because we needed we needed a way to make sure that everybody who was participating, all the individuals who were participating, had somewhere to spend their R credits. And that already made economic circles, right? Because as long as we had some employees at the grocery. So we actually started Greenfield's Market and 3 of its employees. So all the participants could spend at the co-op would pay its employees could buy stuff at the co-op. There's a little bit of circling there. And then we wanted to add on enough other businesses, some suppliers like Real Pickles, and their employees, so that we'd have slightly bigger economic circles and could really do a test of the system, which is what we did for a year and just finished in December with that test with a small group. What did we have, like 5 or 6 businesses? No, there were 5 retail businesses and I think 8 businesses altogether.
And
for that year.
did you guys like approach the select businesses that you
Oh yeah,
thought would be good
we went
candidates?
and spent hours talking
Oh,
to
yeah.
people.
And were there other businesses that you also talked to but didn't get in that
Yes,
first cut
yes.
that are like in progress of
There's
potentially
still many of them in
becoming-
process, yeah. A lot of them wanted to just wait and see how it went.
So how are you determining that there's a shortage of money in our community?
Unemployment is a very good indicator of whether there's enough money in the economy.
See, there's a really big problem in our economy, and that is that if you look at the rise in productivity from just say the 1950s, it takes nobody to make everything. And so we're in this very peculiar situation. Well, really, it takes hardly anybody to make everything, you know? I did a calculation once when we were protesting Mitsubishi and their decimation of the rainforest. There was a bunch of people who organized a boycott, and they got all the statistics on Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi manufactures 17% of the world's stuff. And they do it with a hundredth of a percent of the people. So there is no work, you know. It's all gone into intelligence, basically. The machines, the computers, the systems. You know, it's a lot of intelligence from the past that's creating everything. So most people find themselves in a situation where the job that they have is in some way related to the wealth of the past. It's either grants, tax money, government, unless it's fast food. You know, there are a few things that are, you know, service industry. But that's our problem, that the money is really scarce for all of the things that we think are important.
So how would that exactly work? So how does this system help an unemployed person, for example, here? Like,
well,
how will it?
Okay, let's say that just to give you, just to have a thought for a minute. Let's say that the Congress had listened to the people and said, let's not bail out the banks, let's bail out the people who are the victims of the banks. So, and Trump did this, Bush did this too. He gave everybody a check, you know. Everybody got a check in the mail just to stimulate the economy. So what if we distributed the money by making sure that the people have enough purchasing power, right? So what if you got a check in the mail every month so that you were in a position to do all the things that you want to do, take care of all the things you want to take care of?
This idea, by the way, may sound crazy, but it actually has enough weight that there are whole political parties that are behind this idea, especially in Germany.
They almost passed it in Switzerland. I mean, it came within, you know, a small percentage of the vote.
The minimum
Guaranteed
income?
guaranteed income. And there was called social credit, and there's political parties. New Zealand has come very close to doing this.
I think Andy has a question.
Yeah, what is the mechanism or structure that prevents our credits from being hoarded?
Nothing. Well, let me
Well,
say
that's
something.
not entirely true. Okay, go ahead.
We give an inflation incentive. If you wanted to save money, you'd do better saving your R credits. Here's the whole point about R credits. Sitting in the circle. And knowing, I don't know how to make this really clear, but if you know what you can do to make the system better for everybody, you would want to do it. So now we go to,
So that is the real life answer to your question, is we talk.
we talk.
If we're keeping an eye on things, our whole board and everybody. And if we see something that needs to happen, we go and talk to the people.
Then that's an
that
issue.
have it. What's that?
Then that's an issue. It's like you're tracking that
Well,
as opposed to the.
Greenfields Market, for example, didn't just save them up for a really long time.
Mhm.
And that was partly because of the chaos in the leadership. That there wasn't anybody who was in the right position to be deciding to do something there.
Yeah.
And once we got the wonderful new general manager, things moved along. Now they're paying suppliers pretty regularly, including Bill Pickles. So that's moving along. But there are a couple other businesses that are also, they don't have an easy way to spend them yet. And they don't want to cash them out because they want to be supportive of not cashing things out but keeping them circulating. So we're, working with people, we're talking with people to see whether it makes more sense to cash them out short term and keep working on getting more suppliers and employees or what. So it really comes down to having the conversations and keeping an eye on things.
So the more people that are enrolled in our credits, the more things keep flowing. People have more
Yes, and
places to
the more
spend it.
people and businesses that are involved, the less it matters. If there's one or a few businesses here or there that are building them up, or individuals for that matter.
So if you have like a tracking system, which is great, then that introduces this element of central planning to it, which is kind of a cool hybrid in that case. It's a free market, but then you have like, oh,
Right, but our
here it's
central plan-
accumulating, and then we want to do something like what's going on at Greenfield, and then encourage like, well, maybe they need this and this and this to help it remove that blockage so that it can continue to recirculate.
But our
So that
central
you can
planning
like,
has a twist,
Which is
transparency.
right,
too.
and community directed.
So-
Right.
Anybody can see this.
Yeah,
It's
right.
there all the time.
That's so cool.
Well, so right, so the central plan is done by the whole community and so,
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, otherwise, we would probably know
That's
this here.
a decentralized.
So it's well,
centralized.
it's like well, I guess by centralized I meant, that there's some deliberate, like,
Right.
conscious, like, let's put together a solution and, but it's done, not in a hierarchical fashion, like by one dictator, but by the whole community in a democratic fashion, which is
Almost
a
like
great hybrid of all those
community
pieces.
oversight of the
What's that?
system, community oversight of the system.
I'm hoping that it'll be more than oversight. I'm hoping that the relationship that we develop to our community means that we're in a position to support everybody. And the way that I see that is that the only thing that all of us would ever be able to agree to is that everybody should have what they need and be encouraged to do the things that they're passionate about. And so we'll be looking at each other to see what it is that we can do for each other that would make life better and that would make it, make it more exciting to be alive and solve all those problems that arise because of the shortage of money.
Let's talk for a minute
About what we're going to do now that it's 7:20.
Yes. Did you want to do this, where does the dollar come from, get people's views, or did we already do that enough?
Well, we haven't said anything about
No, where does it all
where the
come?
dollar comes
Yeah.
from.
Let's hear about that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
what I was really curious about.
Thin air.
No, I mean, I know now in Jerusalem, it's like issued into
John's going to ask you.
like originally.
What I'm really curious about is if anybody knows where the dollar comes from.
You're like, these
I
days
know
are
Alan
original.
does, because Alan's read Alan Brown's book called The Web of Debt.
Oh, yeah. So you're asking
Else I
about
can't.
today, not like originally. You're saying today.
Today.
Well, Paul Grignon has a really interesting one about
Called the web, yeah, called
bankers.
Money is Dead. I have a paper with all the resources, but I do want to just point out that unless unless you've done some pretty esoteric research, you have no idea where the dollar comes from. Who issues the dollar? Side down, don't answer.
Well, why don't you just have people say what
What do you think?
what their ideas are? Just to make it a little easier, I didn't know until I've been working on this project for half a dozen years, where the US dollar came from, and almost nobody does. So
Who
it'd be
issues the
interesting to
dollar?
know if other people's experience of
Federal
where they think it
Reserve.
comes from is the same.
The lenders
The
are
banks of the Federal Reserve, the banks.
Okay, good.
There's ones all over the country, they're private banks, though, they're not government
All right,
banks.
so that's getting out there. This is really important. People are beginning to wake up.
That's great.
So I'm going to do something.
But she's been reading too.
Yeah, and I,
That's right. I'm going to do something very quickly.
Probably a lot of us who are here have been reading, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to do something
That's
very
very, that's a
quickly
very hopeful thing.
so that it's really clear what's going on. Somebody gives you $100 bill in an envelope for your birthday. And you look at the $100 bill and you start to put it in your wallet, and then you think better of it, and you fill out your deposit slip and you go to the bank. And you hand the teller the deposit slip and the $100 bill. And sure enough, the amount of money in your bank account goes up by $100. What actually happened? And this is absolutely crucial because our credits will make so much sense to you when you grasp this. The bank took the $100 and put it in the vault. And on their balance sheet, it's listed as a non-performing asset. It's an asset of the bank, right? So, what is the $100 that your bank account went up by? So if you want $100, you write a check to the bank, right? You give them the check for $100 and they give you the $100 bill, right? So the bank owes you $100. Your bank account went up because the bank owes you $100. Now, no money just got created. Is that clear? So the cash, the $100 bill is an asset of the bank, and the money in your bank account is your asset, but the bank's liability.
The bank
The bank owes you $100. That's what's in your bank account. Now,
So your
no
bank
money
account
was
is the bank's debt to you.
right, and that's why they pay you a little bit of interest. I mean, you've seen the 2 cents. Anyway, no money was created. Yeah.
Would they always put it in a non-performing asset, or would they then
Until they get
invest
rid of
it?
it.
Well, the cash is a non-performing asset. It's not making them any money. Just sitting there. in the
Right, but wouldn't they try to do something with it to make them money, or not?
Well, in the banking regulations, they need a certain amount of cash. Cash is about dollar bills, right? Bills, paper money, folding money is about 3% of the money. All the rest of it is money that the bank supposedly owes us. But what I want to get to is what happens when the bank creates the money. You go to the bank in order to buy a house or buy a car. Let's do the house because it's a little more dramatic and it's a little more typical about where most of the money comes from. You go to the bank and you want to borrow enough money to buy a house. So the bank checks you out, right? They look at your credit score. If you've banked with them a long time, they look at how you've done. Maybe the loan officer has a sense for it, but there are a whole bunch of things that get taken into account. And then you promise to pay the bank the amount that they're going to lend you plus interest. You give them a promissory note. And you give them a mortgage on the house. So they have something now that's very valuable. It's as valuable, at least, as the amount that they're going to put into your account, which is just like what they did with the cash. That promise to pay, your promise to pay, is an asset of the bank. This time it's a performing asset of the bank. And that money that they put into your account, they write it into your account as what they owe. Now, you can know that this is true because when you lend somebody money, you have to lend them money that you have. If the bank were lending its depositors money, they would have to tell their depositors that they've lent their money and they can't withdraw it, just as it would be with us. They never do that. They certainly don't have enough capital to make all of the money of it's theirs, you know, their equity. They certainly don't have enough capital to be made. So they must be doing that. Well, what I'm telling you is not in the least bit controversial. The Bank of England recently published, which Alan's probably read, and the Federal Reserve has numerous publications. The best one is from the Chicago Federal Reserve, and it's called Modern Money Mechanics. I should have put that on this list. Anyway, the point is that you just gave the bank everything of value. Now, if you look at the amortization schedule on the mortgage, it says that for the first 15 years of a 30-year mortgage, you are going to pay as much as they lend you in interest. And then afterwards, you're going to start paying down the mortgage. Well, the money that you're paying the bank up front in interest is current value. The money that you're going to pay off that loan with is inflated. What did and you're going to pay twice as much over a 30-year mortgage as what you actually borrowed. Tell me, what did the bank do to deserve you buying them a house first? Now, when that sinks in, and believe me, it takes a while for this to sink in, it isn't hard to understand why society is the way it is. It isn't hard at all. Half the money is going to the bank. And they get to spend it on what? Whatever keeps the banking secret. So we are at this cusp. We're at this cusp where we get to create what it is that we really want. And our credits is exactly the same. There's no difference except we don't charge interest. And we can create the money to give away. And we can create the money as a loan. And we can create the money as an investment. And we can create the money anyway. But it's exactly the same. It can only ever be issued for something valuable. Even if it's your promise to do something useful for your community. What is that? Well, let me hear from the community what it wants. And all of a sudden we're in an entirely different situation. Where we're doing things that we know somebody else will value because we've heard about it in the circle. And that's why everything changes. I got to say my opinions.
Eloquently here. At this point, we wanted to give you choices about what to do with the remaining time. Here are some choices. Questions and answers. And we did this piece up front. So only two choices. Questions and answers, or an overview of the R Credits community page charts, like the one that was up there earlier. There's 6 of them. And they are the basis for how we answer Sarah's question, how much is too much?
Yeah, I like that. You know
So
this,
John says he prefers option number 2. How about the rest of you? Questions and answers, or the community page, or do you want to?
It'll probably
Do
be
a
a
little
combo
H.
if we start with the latter.
What's that?
It'll probably be a combo if we start with the latter.
Yeah, we'll certainly take questions about this while we're doing it. Does that sound good to people? Yeah.
I'd just like to ask one question. There are 2 new papers recently that this year, or last year, written by a fellow by the name of Richard Richard Werner.
Uh-huh.
These were, Werner is an academic accountant, and he went to a bunch of different banks and said, I want to track just what John was talking about, the process of loaning a researcher 200,000 euros. I want to see, I want everybody in the bank to be with somebody else that's photographing them and listening to everything they say. The only thing they can do is go to the bathroom and they have to leave their cell phone inside. So if you haven't read them, you ought to read them. And I won't go on very much, but he covers that same process. It comes to the same, he has three possibilities. I'm not sure that I can remember what they are, so, but he
We
comes
probably
to
ought to move on anyway, because we have to end early so that we can be out of here by 8, which means we only have about 10 minutes for this last basic.
Well, then go to.
Maybe you
Richard
can send
Werner,
those
Werner,
titles
look it
to the organizers and they can send out the titles to us.
Oh, by the way, if anybody here hasn't given us their email address, please feel free to do that, because we will send you something if you give us an email address. Of course, we have it for all of you, our credits members.
I think it's right, no? The key to our credits that is really, really important is this feedback that the system is able to give us. It puts us in a position to be able to make decisions. Eventually we'll discover whether they're wise decisions, but at least it gives us the information that we need in order to be able to make decisions. And each one of these graphs has numbers on it. And we could decide, we could recommend, the Board of Common Good Finance in the early stages could recommend, this is the number we need to move. We don't have enough businesses. We need more businesses, so we
Well,
incentivize.
that's a very good example, because we did decide that.
Yeah, we did, and we decided that we were going to incentivize it. So imagine that it's a few years down the road and we're deciding what to do. So
We, the community of our credits
the
members.
circle, right? And there's a way that that happens. Next week we're going to talk about the whole, because not only have we devised a new monetary system, but we've actually devised a new governance system. And that governance system is the, what's really exciting about what we're doing.
A proposed government system, because it should be able to decide what itself should be.
That's part of the idea of the governance system, exactly. So in this chart, we get to see how many members there are, people who have signed up. So on the 17th it was 117, I can't move it to the 18th.
Yeah, that's a little tricky, but you can see at the very end, it has the figures at the top. If you hover anywhere on it, it'll tell you
Where they were at
what
that time.
what it was at that time.
Right.
And at some point, we'll make it able to zoom in, but I didn't want to have to put them in there yet.
Right. So we have 14 companies. If you just go a little bit in here, and it's only 10. Oh.
No, we only went up one in the past several months.
Oh.
Anyway, why don't you go fairly quickly through all of them? People have questions about some more than others.
So this one is the amount of funds in the system. So this figure up here, the 142, that includes our credits and dollars. So this is the situation that the US dollars are in the escrow, and the our credits that are issued as incentives, and this is the amount that isn't circulating.
The green part is
Both.
our credits that are issued as incentives, but the height of it, so including the green and the blue, is the amount of our credits that have been issued at all. Some of them for incentives and some for US dollars,
Right.
right? So you can sort of picture it as being behind the blue part, and the part that's behind the blue part is one for one.
How do you know what's circulating? I mean,
Yeah.
it's only circulating for a
We
second
just
and then
define
it's sitting somewhere.
we define circulating as if you have a certain amount in your account for a month or
Oh,
more,
okay.
we call that savings, and it's not circulating.
Right,
What is
and-
the top 5? What was the red line on that?
Yeah, I'm
The
gonna get back,
Oh, you're gonna go back
I'm
there?
gonna go back to that in a minute, because it's an important, thing for us to, I mean, here's a little blip, okay, I'll do this now. Here's a little blip, and here it is in savings. This is the amount that the top 5 companies have. So.
In savings.
In savings, and, when it goes above the blue, if they all cashed it out, there wouldn't be enough money. Of course, it's not gonna happen, and we're not warning about it, but it's one of those feedback things that we need to know. If this line were down here, we'd be, comfy. And if it got way up here, we'd be really worried. And the reason that I went to this is that if you think about, we're concentrating on food, we're trying to create the economic circles in the whole food thing, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to get some more processing going, like more real pickles type companies, and encourage the farms and localize the economy somewhat. If you think about that, our credit should be circulating 4 times a month, not a quarter in the month, because don't you shop for food every week? So in our original thinking, it was going to be 4 times a week, it'd be 4 times a month, once a week. It's a quarter of our credits are circulating in a month. So this is a number I want to move.
Probably the limit is going to be the typical pay period. So when employees get paid every 2 weeks, they will then sometime during those next 2 weeks spend the money, and then the businesses will pay the employees again. So it'll be going twice every 2 weeks. So that's 4 times a month approximately. The money will get spent.
And is this an average? Like if Greenfield's Market was holding on to a bunch, like their credits weren't going anywhere,
that's why
and
it's
then,
going up at the end there, is that Greenfield's Market started to
so the
turn the money over.
individuals might be circulating their ARC credits at a faster rate.
Yes.
But it's being
quite.
averaged with.
Right. This is artificially low, partly because people saved up so much over this past year. When that stops happening, this velocity will go way up, because it's expressed as a fraction of the total volume of money in the system, and how much of it is turning over. If a lot of it is just sitting somewhere, then you get a very low fraction of it that's turning over.
By the way, all that money that the bailout put on the bank's balance sheets means that the dollar is circulating about once a year. They've stopped. The Fed is stopped, the Commerce Department has stopped publishing the circulation rate of the dollar. They just stopped.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little bit under a year.
They also stopped publishing the amount of money, didn't they?
Well, yeah.
The system.
There's a lot going on.
What are they doing then?
Trying to get as much effort.
Yeah.
Isn't that their job?
This graph shows the amount of US dollars going in and coming out of the ARC credit system. Green is coming in and yellow is going out. So again, you can see the yellow there is when Greenfield's Market started paying suppliers, and some of them traded some of that for US dollars, about $1,200 worth.
So where does the US dollar come in from?
Yes, bro.
Well, they come in when people transfer funds from their bank account. That's the only way the US dollars come in. Or, yeah, that's the only way the US dollars come in.
What percentage of our participants are getting paid in our credits?
I think it's still just you real pickles people and the artisan beverage co-op.
Not the co-op here.
No, they
Right, yeah.
have a union, which means that the management doesn't feel they can offer that as a possibility unless it's negotiated in a contract. So it can't just be some people that are doing it unless the union says some people can do it.
And one of agenda items, and anybody who wants to help is welcome to, is to start the dialogue with the union.
Right. There's several other
Hasn't
companies that are
been-
planning on doing it, but they haven't
Yeah.
gotten the infrastructure set up yet.
Like the pint or something like that could.
The Pint is planning to do it sometime, Foster's is planning to do it, Snow's is planning to do it. What else do we have? Oh, Alpengill, they haven't paid the two people who are participating, but.
Because ideally, at some point, that green line drops, right? Because if everyone's
Oh, yeah.
receiving our credits and paying them, you wouldn't have to be.
Yeah, we expect at some point that it will be fairly close, that there will be a lot of funds going out as well as coming in. But as long as the green is higher than the yellow at all, it means that we haven't created too many. Because people still need more, so they're buying more than they're taking out.
So your basic need on the people, us putting in money and
Yeah,
deciding to
well,
do
think
it.
of it this way, the money should be representing the goods and services. It should be facilitating the exchanges for the goods and services that we want to buy. So when somebody wants to buy something with our credits, they exchange some US dollars, enough US dollars to cover whatever their expected expenditures are with our credits. So the amount of US dollars coming in is a measure of the goods and services that are being offered that somebody wants.
But they could just use money, like I don't see how we dollar money.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem like that's a new demand, that's just replacement.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, absolutely.
So the only new demand will come from the frills on the edge.
Yeah, the incentives.
Yeah.
But eventually, we get to that place where there's enough going on that this yellow line here, the yellow line here stays way down here, and there's all of this that isn't being spent, and then we can do that. Now we have both dollars and our credits. And when it gets,
Well, this is, no, you're talking about the other graph where there's a lot more US dollars. And this may get to be the same, or
Right.
close to the same. This is coming in and going out, it's not the amount in the system.
right, it's the
It's
amount of
the rate
coming in and
it's
out.
coming in and out.
It would be that. But
Yeah.
we're gonna get to one more in a second. There's one more down here, and we're gonna spend time on that. But in this one, I need to point out that the scale on the left is logarithmic. Okay? So,
Meaning it goes up faster than just a little bit at a time.
yeah. So it goes from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. And the green line, which is up here at the top, is person to business, buying at a business, at Greenfields Market or whatever.
Obviously,
The
that's
blue
mostly
line-
what people are doing.
Yeah, what most people are doing. The blue line is business to business.
And again, you can see the jump when Greenfields Market started paying suppliers. Business to business.
Yeah, the April 1, Roseanne Bar is a transfer from Hardwick Post and Beam to my sawmill. Now, I'm saving that horizontal line, or at least a portion of it, because I'm not the whole, I don't amount to the whole thing, because that's logarithmic. So my number's a little less than 1,000. Over the next year, I could, like Anton, guarantee that there
Thank
was
you. Great.
100,000 feet of lumber that could be sold, and I would be willing to accept our credits to sell that lumber, but I don't have, there's nobody in the buyer loop other than Hardwick Post and Beam to buy stuff from me.
Do you have repeat customers?
Do I?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can invite them.
Yeah,
Sign into your account.
but they're a long way away. They're all out of Greenfield.
But they shop with you, so they can just use
Yeah,
it.
right.
Right, so let's get the whole let's think that we've gotten the whole Pioneer Valley involved. All the locally owned businesses in the Pioneer Valley are participating, then you can see what the real potential of it is. And do you remember the effort to have the co-op department store in Greenfield, right? And it sort of, do you think that would have worked if we had our credits? Do you think that would have created the sense that we can do this?
He means if we were far enough along that we had a functioning common good community where we're making decisions about how to issue our credits, what to grant them or lend them or invest them in.
Right, and is that likely to be the kind of thing that we'll decide we want to do? People will be enthusiastic to work there and source as much as they can locally and create the opportunity to make the things that people want to buy at the store and bring everything back into the whole realm of craft. I mean, isn't the appeal of real pickles that you get to craft pickles? If you see what I mean, it's not the huge manufacturing thing. You know, everybody knows how we're doing, and you're involved, and it's a process of continually developing and getting it better. I mean, it's exciting. That's what
I'd like to give you an example
you.
of this, and you need to end this, I think.
Yeah, pretty close.
So the last one,
Anna, you have a question.
Quickly, just, this latest incentive thing, are you looking to bring in businesses that are outside of Greenfield?
We're still focusing on Greenfield and close neighbors,
Okay,
but that doesn't mean we're excluding people
Yeah,
elsewhere.
people like me
We're
are stuck.
We're trying to get it a little bigger here before getting too skinny
okay.
elsewhere.
So if I had a friend who had a business in Northampton, who might have a bunch of employees, like,
Northampton
wait.
may be close enough.
Okay.
yeah,
If any of them shop in Greenfield, for example, then we have a pretty close circle.
Have you talked to the River Valley Market?
Not for a couple of years, but we'll get back there.
And they're
Or
also
you can talk.
unionized, so they're,
Oh, there, okay.
and is Vermont also an option?
Yes, we have a group in Brattleboro.
on Thursday, I'm giving 2 3-hour seminars in Brattleboro.
Whoa, I'll tell all my friends.
Yes. It's at the co-op in Brattleboro. The first one's from 2 to 5, and then the next one's from 6 to 9.
2 more minutes.
So this. Okay. This much people traded dollars for our credits. This is how much we issued as incentives. This is how much we issued as sign-up bonuses. And this little guy here is the inflation offset. How much we issued as inflation offset.
The invitation bonuses will appear separately when we have some.
Yes.
You said that you can't use sign-up bonuses for anything but
Spending,
but
purchasing.
spending
Within the system.
within the system.
This might be an obvious question, but what does R stand for? What does the R stand for? I might have missed this obvious thing.
It stands for power.
Rebels.
Originally,
Rebels,
it stood for
revolution.
rebel. Yes. We were going to call them rebels rather than our credits.
We got talked in.
We decided to be more
Too enthusiastic.
conventional and less radical.
Well, less visibly radical.
Yes, exactly.
Sign-up bonus, designate or identification stay with the, after you spend it once, does it look just like the green in the system? Or do you have a
Yeah,
marker?
it's just, it only, the deal is, the system tracks what the total amount of rewards you've ever gotten is. And it gives you a balance figure, you know, how much is in your account and how much you have ever received as rewards. And if you have less balance than the amount of rewards, you can't cash anything out. If you have $10 more in your balance than the amount of rewards, you can cash $10 out. That's the only rule for cashing out. That's how it works. And the thing is, at any given point, if you count that some people can cash out a negative, you know, can't cash out because the amount they can cash out is negative. If you add all those amounts up, it comes out to, what? 0, yeah.
we should do a checkout.
You have to balance it against the amount of US dollars. It actually comes out to equal the amount of US dollars.
Right.
So that if everybody cashed out, there would be zero.
Right.
That's what balances.
Which is, if everybody paid off all their loans, it'd be no money.
We wanted to go around and hear people's, how was this evening for you? And what else?
That's it.
What was not clear? How do you plan to deal with any cognitive dissonance? You're experiencing that, as many of us have when getting this sort of information. And what possibilities do you see? And I'm going to start cleaning up while people are talking about this.
That was if we had taken the last, that was one of the choices for what we were gonna do. But anyway, that was from 7:40 to 8. Anyway, so just how was the evening?
Well, you know, money is not my forte, but I just want to say that whether I am a rebel, a money rebel or not, or if I kind of have a sense of what you're talking about here, it's a no-brainer because I eat at the 2 restaurants, I shop at the 2 grocery stores, it's like a debit card with no fees, prepaid debit card, and so why shouldn't I?
Good.
I think this is fascinating, but I sure have an awful lot more questions. Like, it's conceptually really, I mean, people, you know, aren't trained in this at all, and I a little bit. And then, so I kind of like to know more. Do you guys have like a reading list?
I was gonna say, that would be really
Yeah.
awesome.
John's handout is
Well,
excellent.
there's a handout with like that.
It's a list of materials. You can also go to credittothepeople.org,
Yes, .org.
which has even more on
I don't care
Yeah.
whether you need it or not, a reading list on the
You know
website
all this stuff.
for people who aren't
Alan
here
went
and
to
have
the
access to the
banking
paper.
commission with me, with us.
You know, rather than develop another whole reading list when there are already some excellent reading lists out there, I'd rather just point you at John's site, which is credittothepeople.org, which has a really, really good list of resources.
Okay,
on it.
yeah, I think it's really important.
This is also
We may just
the,
link to that. on the site.
Do you have another credit seminar?
no, I'm gonna take this from Al, because he doesn't need it.
Monday.
I would like one today.
Alan, I didn't make
If
it.
possible. Oh, okay, you, next Monday.
This guy knows all this stuff, are you kidding? He learned from me.
You might have just like forced him to give it up.
I didn't get to tell you that,
I'm sorry, I
If
you have
if you want to read more,
Yeah.
There-
anybody who wants to read more, there's more here.
Really important part of what our credit is.